I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I can't too late. I know I was so wrong. I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I could be too late. I know I was so wrong. I'm all out of love. I'm so lost without you. I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What am I without you? I could be too late. Say that I was so wrong.
Well, enough of that. Back to fixing the country, and live from Times Square, it's That Kevin Show.
Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media.
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him as Vostradamus.
Of course, That Kevin Show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be That Donald Show. We don't have that, so we have That Kevin Show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Straight ahead, Trump at 100 days. Lara Trump, former RNC chair, joins us. Saving Forgotten Lives, Rob Davis of Christian Solidarity International. Sketch comedy from the Babylon Bee, Not a Parody, and Nick Peterson. And a little bit later on, Luke Bryan making his debut in the Spotlight. And now, from Times Square, where the lights are bright, the tourists are lost, and the pigeons are angrier than ever, here's the... Welcome into the weekend, friends. Couldn't be happier than to have you with us. And it's true. The pigeons are out, and they are militant. I haven't seen pigeons this angry in a super long time. But welcome aboard. I don't know if you heard that lineup right there. We are stocked today, loaded. And it's a good week to do that because I was just down in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. I was actually at the White House on Wednesday. The first 100 days of the administration have now come and gone. And where are we at when it comes to tracking the promises and the hopes of the campaigns? How did we come out on balance, and where are we at? We'll talk with two people that had a lot invested in this. Lara Trump, the daughter-in-law of the president, who is the former RNC Co-Chair, and also Dr. Kevin Roberts, who is the president of the Heritage Foundation. Both have a lot invested in where we go agenda-wise in the days to come, and I am honored to have both of them on the show this weekend. So look forward to those conversations. Lara will be with me in the very next segment, so I hope you'll stick around. A little bit later on, so a lot of people try to figure out what this show's about. And they're like, Kev, you do comedy, but you do serious issues, but you have sketch comedy, but you do a music artist of the week. You have all kinds of stuff in here. Well, we're trying to kick your weekend off with a little bit of fun, because a lot of times the week has not really been all that fun. So we do, but we also love giving voice to those that are good at telling the funny side of life from the conservative worldview. And it turns out, if you pay attention, there are some really talented groups out there doing some amazing work. I have to say, the Babylon Bee came along at a time when this country needed it, and the Babylon Bee Comedy Troupe that has begun to do their sketch comedy has just really hit its stride in recent months, and we are very, very honored on today's edition to welcome Jarrett Lemaster to join us. Jarrett is the guy that plays the follically challenged characters. He plays a newscaster sometimes. He plays the devil sometimes. They put him all in red makeup. He is a talented writer. He's a talented sketch performer, and he's a good guy. And he's going to be with us, and we're excited to kind of deepen the relationship with the Babylon Bee through that. But we've also got some other great comedy. Not a Parody has been with us from the very beginning. They have just thrown the show open with what you've seen there, and they're right on top of it as usual. And then we've also got the inimitable Nick Peterson. Nick Peterson with some stuff on Elon and Tesla and some of that stuff this go around. So looking forward to Nick being back. And then we have never, not once had Luke Bryan, country mega superstar, in the spotlight. And I am pleased to tell you that he is very happy to join us today. I don't know if any American Idol fans out there, it's kind of a weird thing to ask now because it's not really the show that it used to be when it was really at the peak of its game. But on Easter Sunday night, they had a Faith on Idol edition, and Luke did one of the songs off his new album. He's got 2 new songs off of his new album that he's going to be here with us today. But talking to my kids about Jesus, it's the coolest song. And I don't know, if you're a dad and you care at all about God and the outcome of your kids, this one will rip your heart out of your chest. So I'm looking forward to that. That's all. And so Luke Bryan, Jarrett Lemaster, Not a Parody, Babylon Bee, Nick Peterson, we've got Dr. Kevin Roberts, we've got Lara Trump all joining us. It is going to be an episode for the ages, so stick around for the whole thing this go around. We're also going to do something serious, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, and that is we are going to liberate human slaves this year. I'm going to use this platform, use this program, I'm going to use my time with you to advocate for you helping us liberate human beings from slavery. Some people don't realize this, but there are more people in human slavery right now than there have ever been in human history. When the Western world was practicing slavery, there was not as much slavery as there is now. And so for all of the people that want to say, reparations this and go back that and all the rest of it, no, we haven't solved the problem. We haven't solved the problem. The problem has been solved in the Western world. We have, pluralistic societies that are operating very nicely. Even cities that operate very nicely, very, very well integrated and just living side by side without any issue. New York City is a great example of this. You live right on top of and right next to and right down the street from a lot of people that look different than you, and people can get along and do so in a wonderful way. But that is not the case everywhere in the world. And the slaves that we are liberating from northern Sudan were taken into slavery because they were people that practiced a different faith than the people that took them. They are Christian. Their slave masters are Muslim, and they want to have control of them. We have successfully, over the last 10, 12 years, across all of my platforms, helped to liberate between 4,500 and 5,000 slaves. And we are very excited to be once again doing this. 888-342-1010 is my number. 888-342-1010. $250 gives the slave everything they need once they're liberated to start their life over again, including a way to support themselves, including a way to be protected from the weather, including utensils needed to cook, clean, fish, and garden with. They have everything they need supplied for them for that one gift of $250, and we have at least 208 names on the list that we know that we can help liberate. Now, just to put it into perspective, we have already, through some of you already being involved, we have already liberated, I believe it's 7 of those slaves, and we are looking forward to liberating even more in the moments and days and weeks to come. But would you get us off on the right foot tonight, today? Would you get us off on the right foot as we lean into this and help liberate human beings? $250 takes one life and moves it from slavery into freedom and gives them everything they need to start over again. 888-342-1010. If you'd like to read more and find out more, go to bringherhome.org. Bring her, most of these slaves are women, home, bringherhome.org. This is from the northern Sudan region to the south of Sudan, into southern Sudan, which is a Christian nation now, and they're no longer being punished for basically being someone that doesn't agree with their slave master. But they are. Every day in slavery, that's their life. They live in constant fear. Once they're freed, that goes away. 888-342-1010 or bringherhome.org. 888-342-1010 or bringherhome.org. Stay with us. Huge show. Luke Bryan. Welcome back to Times Square. It's That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show, all social media. And if you use that dinosaur called email, it's thatkevinshow@gmail.com. Glad to have you with us. A number of months ago, not long after we launched, one of my very first guests, in fact, to join us, rejoins us now. She has much more perspective because she's come through some election cycles. She's come through some battles. She's seen the country take a turn back in the direction where it should have never turned away from. And now we're 100 days in, and I can't wait to pick her brain about some of the stuff that's going on in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lara Trump. Hello, Lara.
Hello. Great to be back with you.
Congratulations on the big news just a week or so ago of you re-signing with Salem Communications. I know when you got your Fox deal, a lot of people were like, is she going to forget about us over at Salem? But you're still in the family. We're
I'm
excited
still
about
here.
that.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
When you think about where you were when we even had that first conversation and there were elections that needed to be dealt with, and you had not even been named co-chair of the party yet. You had a lot of work ahead of you. There was a lot of ballot cleanup and voter integrity stuff to work on and registration to increase and even money to raise that had not been done. When you look back 100 days into this term now, how do you feel about where we are?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, it feels like a weight has been lifted off of me, but I kind of feel like off of so many people in this country, and I would actually argue around the world. I think we all knew the gravity of this election, and I think having 100 days under our belts with this president in office, with this cabinet by his side, working alongside of him, with the Republican Party being in charge, not just of the White House, but the House and the Senate as well, it really finally feels like this country is headed back in the right direction. I mean, you just said we should have never turned away from it. But then I sometimes think about what if it hadn't gone this way. And the prospects are terrifying. I mean, you saw before Donald Trump took the oath of office to become president again for the second time, you saw hostages being returned. You saw talks to, end the wars around the world, whether we're talking about the Middle East, whether we're talking about Russia and Ukraine. There were conversations happening because people finally knew America had a leader back. And I think it is so, so refreshing that we have someone who's standing up for common sense, who's actually keeping his promises, doing all the things that he said he would do. And he's wasting no time, Kevin. Yeah. This is a president who knows he's only got 4 years left in the White House. That's what he's focused on. He's getting the job done every single day, making sure that when he leaves on January 20th of 2029, this country is set up properly. Things are working finally, once again, for the American people.
When I think about the start to this administration, and I've been covering presidents since Reagan, so it's been, I've had a good number to watch. I've never seen a first 100 days, even of his first term,
Yeah.
take on the level of productivity. And I think there's a few combination factors that are making that happen. But one is, and you touched on it, the purity of the cabinet. In his first go around, he had to take a lot of recommendations from people. He didn't know what exactly he was stepping into. He'd never done it before. It was all kind of brand new. And there were some scallywags that got through the mix and mucked up the works. This group, they are all wholly dedicated and seem to be as work-minded as he is, which is a very hard thing to do. To try to match Donald Trump in energy and focus is very hard. But it seems like he has picked little mini-me's that are at the top of all of the cabinet divisions, and that they are full gas, full pedal to the floor on the agenda in their area of expertise and in their area of responsibility. I've never seen an administration get so much done in so little time.
Yeah. Well, by the way, scallywags is a very kind way to describe some of the individuals.
It's a family-friendly show.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep it.
You referenced the difference is it's 180 degrees almost. I mean, you got it exactly right. Look, this is a man who operated as a businessman before he ever became president the first time. That was his first job in politics, was president of the United States. That's a big leap. There was so much to learn. And because we had such a small campaign in 2016, typically you pull people from the campaign and you plug them into these various positions within your cabinet, within the administration. There are thousands of positions to fill. We had such a small...
Well, and you're dependent upon good recommendations from people that you supposedly trust.
Correct. Well, so we had to take those recommendations, but we didn't trust these people because we didn't even know these people. And there were so many folks stabbing him in the back and selling stories to the fake news and all of it. And we all know how that turned out. I mean, gosh, he got so much accomplished the first term, but imagine what he would have been able to do had he had people working alongside of him. And this cabinet, I think, is amazing because you have people like RFK Jr. You have people like Tulsi Gabbard. These are former Democrats. I mean, I think RFK still technically considers himself to be a Democrat. I mean, he wanted a year ago to run on the Democrat ticket for president of the United States. And now he's the HHS secretary for President Donald Trump. But they're all people, Kevin, who love this country. They're all people who understand Donald Trump's goals, who completely ignore the fake news, who completely understand that this is maybe a once in our country's history opportunity to do the things that are being done. If you look at Doge and you look at the amount of fraud, waste, and abuse that they're turning up, the amount of money that's going to save this country, we the people, the taxpayers of America. If you look at what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants to do, speaking of, he wants to make sure that we understand what is in our food, that we're not getting sicker as a country, that because we pay the most amount of money for our healthcare in the entire world, we should be the healthiest, and yet we're sicker than we've ever been before. These are all things that are going to make life so much better for the American people. And they were also things that I think it's so fascinating no one else was talking about, no one else was willing to tackle. And this administration, this cabinet, and this president are doing the hard things, and they're doing the tough jobs, and they're finally going to get America back.
I want to touch on that observation right there specifically, because I had a moment of kind of not really Zen. I'm not a Eastern mystic, but it was one of those kind of eye openers. And I'm not shocked by a lot. I've been covering this stuff for so long, nothing really surprises me. But when he stepped out in the Rose Garden and announced the tariffs, and he had the big cardboard with him, and it showed, I don't think anybody in America, and if I cover it every day somewhat closely, I'm sure that the average man and woman that are out there working hard, paying their bills, trying to get their kids educated, going to church, doing what they're supposed to do, I doubt that they were able to pay attention very closely. But I had no idea that nearly every country on the planet was ripping us off in some way. And he had this entire thing broken down. And what really made me angry, and this was kind of the light bulb going off, was that H.W. Clinton, W., Obama, and Biden all knew the same stuff that President Trump knows. They've watched it. They've signed off on these agreements. They've allowed this stuff to develop in such a way that we were getting the raw end of the deal on every trade deal with every country. But I don't think anybody had any idea that every country on the planet was ripping us off. And whatever you want to say about economists and their views towards tariffs, what I've advocated is that there is no way that these tariffs in any way are an inflationary tax or a tax on the American people. These are a leveling of the field and the scoreboard for the American worker.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. From New York, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough. Lara Trump is my special guest. Lara, the malfeasance has been from both parties and multiple administrations that have given us what now your father-in-law is being forced to clean up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you go back to Donald Trump in the 1980s in an Oprah interview, and he was talking about tariffs back then. He was saying the United States is getting ripped off. You know who else was saying it? You go back to old videos, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, all the people you just mentioned. We're all talking about it as well, but it's finally taken Donald Trump to actually do something about it. Look, it is not easy. It's not easy to deal with a situation when you've put America in such a bad spot. But Donald Trump understands this is probably the only opportunity we're ever going to have to right the wrongs of the past, to clean up the mess of many previous presidents, from many previous senators, congressmen and women who did not do the right thing, who sold America out, who allowed us to get ripped off. And yes, it is maybe going to be a little turbulent for a short amount of time. I think the president has acknowledged that. But you talked about it before the break. The reality is our companies in the United States cannot survive if we continue to go in this direction. If we have these deficits, like we do with all these other countries, with their continuing to charge us more money than we are charging them, it doesn't work for America. So you're always going to have companies leaving. You're always going to have the great jobs outside of America. We want to hire American. We want to buy American. We want to produce in the United States. We want to see our companies and our manufacturing come back. That's the goal here. And I'm grateful we have a president who has the guts to do it, because no one else had the guts to do it. This is the only one who's kept his promise, and he's making it happen right now. Speaking
of which, and we're tight on time, so I want to get two more questions in, but he seems so chill this go around. I don't know what it is, but he seems like it. And I know that he had a lot coming at him in the first term, and he didn't know where all the grenades were going to go off. So it was kind of like he kind of just felt like he had to lean in and stay on offense a lot. You know, the press avail with with Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller the other day, when the president of El Salvador is in there, and he literally is like, "You answer that one," and like it's no big deal. He seems so comfortable. He seems so relaxed. And I think that even in that demeanor, I think that the nation is drawing comfort that we've got a real adult in charge, and that it's okay. Everything's going to be okay because President Trump is back. Real quickly, let me ask you about this. The female vote massively turned around for the president in this election. African Americans, higher level of involvement than ever before. Latinos, same story. You can go down the list. You guys at the RNC rocked the turnout. You rocked engagement. You went into places and found votes and engaged people that had never given Republicans a chance. What do we do in 26? Well, I think you have to stay with that same tactic. Look, we had a different operation in 2024 than you'd ever seen from a presidential campaign or from the RNC, quite frankly. We were able to partner with grassroots partners around the country. And that was something that we really hadn't seen the RNC do before. They sort of wanted to operate, I think,
alone in many cases. And when Michael Whatley and I got in there, we said, hey, if you're on the team, we want you on the team and we want to work together. And so that's exactly what we did. We reached out to people in a targeted way. It wasn't just random door knocks and random phone calls. We identified low propensity voters, the people who we knew would vote for Republicans, but they didn't come out every single election cycle. We got to go back to those people. We have to knock on their doors. We have to call them. We have to show up and say, hey, if you like this president, you like what he's doing, and you like the way the country's going now, if you feel hopeful for the first time in many, many years, we want to keep this going, and you have to get out and participate in these midterms. And so, look, Michael Whatley's still there as the chairman of the RNC. We have Casey Crosby, who was our treasurer. She took my role as co-chair, and they have the blueprint. They know exactly what to do. And I think every win you see this president have for the country will be in a little bit easier road that the Republican Party will have in those midterms. Now, you're always fighting an uphill battle. We know the tradition. We know that usually if you win the White House 2 years later, the midterms are kind of rough. But the Democrats keep seeming to double down on crazy. They are still on the wrong side of all these issues. They are still so fringe in so much of what they hold up in high esteem as a party. It seems absolutely nuts. So I think we have to make sure we very clearly talk about that with all the voters out there as well.
If I see one more social media post boasting about Bernie Sanders getting 34,000 people to a rally, I think I'm going to pull the rest of my hair out. I'm like, triple that, and you've got Trump's second biggest rally of all time.
Right.
Lara Trump, we're out of time. I appreciate so much what you're doing. Thank you for coming on board in a more tangible way with Salem, and your brother-in-law, Don Jr., joining us as well.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough, That Kevin Show, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show, all social media, That Kevin Show if you use that dinosaur thing called email at gmail.com. But That Kevin Show will get you mostly to where you need to go. We tried to come up with something fancier. We couldn't do it. And besides, it's what fit best on the coffee mugs. So, shoot us. Anyway, every year I am so excited to be able to be part of something that I really, when I say this has touched my family and touched my heart and touched my life, there's not that many things that I get excited about. As you know, the political news is up and down. People that are happy this election cycle were mad the last time, and back and forth that seesaw goes. And the culture, we're going to fight the good fight. Everything else that we do for a reason. But when it comes to setting aside a piece of what we do so that we can just, in an unadulterated fashion, say we care about people and we want to help them, and they can't even help us back. I am excited to do what we do with Christian Solidarity International every single year, and we have for, I've lost track of how many years it is. But the total view of what this organization does is sometimes not something I'm able to really delve into. So I'm very excited to welcome back longtime friend and head of CSI USA, Christian Solidarity International. He's the U.S. director, and they're such an efficient organization that he lives in Florida while the organization is in California. But when you only need like an office and a phone these days, you can pretty much do whatever you need to wherever you are. And Rob Davis is his name, and he rejoins us. Rob, it's good to see you.
Hey, good to see you, and thank you, Kevin. I was trying to figure out one of the same things you just alluded to, which was how long we've been doing this together. And I think it's got to be somewhere between 8 and 10 years, if my memory serves. And I did some quick calculations because I while you were talking, and that means that your audience has freed somewhere between, I think, about 1,500 and 2,000 slaves during that period of time, which is absolutely amazing. Needless to say, life-changing for them.
Yeah. Well, and that's just on this weekend show iteration. We've worked together with radio stations and gone back even before you were part of the organization. So it's a long time relationship. And I remember last year or maybe it was the year before, they've run together now. Once I turned double nickels, it was like my memory was not working nearly as well. But like there's a woman that gives $20 a month and started like 15 years ago, and she still does it. And when I hear stuff like that, Rob, it gets me a little bit emotional, because what we've done is we've literally said to people that the rest of the world kind of threw away like yesterday's garbage, you're not forgotten. God hasn't forgotten about you. He cares about you. And because he cares about you, we care about you. And the slave liberation is a part of what we do, but it is just a piece of what CSI does. And if you were to give us kind of the 35,000 foot flyover so we could see like the whole universe of the stuff that CSI is involved in, what would that tour look like?
Oh, well, it's hard to even know and keep up with in my role all that we're doing. On Palm Sunday, there was a massacre of Nigerian Christians that CSI is addressing with our partners on the ground there. We've got an entire population of Armenian people who were marched from their homeland, threatened either with death or leaving their homeland of thousands of years, and relocated. We've got people in Myanmar that have been persecuted. We've got people who were forced into slave labor building bricks, making bricks in Pakistan. And then what we primarily talk about here, and those are just a few. I mean, they're a list of probably 16 countries I could tick through. But then what we talk about primarily here, which are slaves in Sudan, who in many cases have been there for 30 years with ruthless slave masters who have mutilated them in their genitals, who have raped them, who have ripped them from their homes and their families. And praise God, your audience, along with us and your help, are able to relocate them, release them from slavery, and return them to the villages they were taken from 30 years ago in many cases.
Well, it is a frightening thing. And in case I didn't explain this well in the intro, and I don't think I did, Christian Solidarity International stands for a group of Christians that came together to say, we're going to oppose the formal persecution of Christians just for their Christian belief. And whether it's on the African continent, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, just some of the places that Rob was talking about, it happens far more than we realize. And in fact, Rob, it's kind of odd to think about, but here in this enlightened age of 2025, there's more indentured servitude. There's more human trafficking. There's more slavery. There's more just watch what's happened in Syria over the last few months, where the ISIS adjacent group came in and said, "Oh, we're gonna be multi-ethnic, and we're gonna allow for a pluralism in terms of beliefs and everything like that." They go and they knock Assad out, and the first thing they do is start running Christians out of their homes and running them off the map. This is one of the reasons, friend, why if you watch, and we have Dr. Joel Veldkamp on a regular basis, this is what he primarily covers with them. He's not as involved in the slave work, but persecution of believers for what they believe seems to be at an all-time high historically. Is that an accurate perception?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right on. And, it's funny you mentioned Syria, and that's a situation that we don't talk a whole lot about. The U.S. has sanctions against Syria, so that actually can get us in trouble if we talk too much about it. We certainly can't send money there to help Christians. But, a lot of the reason that we don't talk about it and we don't know about it is a lot of these scenarios we've just referenced, whether specifically or alluded to, are places where there isn't necessarily a lot of economic win for the United States. And I'm not bashing our leaders. I'm not, taking pot shots at those in office, but, follow the money in most cases with a lot of things. And if there's not a huge benefit, we don't talk about it. And as a country, as a people. And so there are lots of things that fly under the radar that we don't have a chance to talk about. And then, and again, I don't want to get up on a soapbox here, but I want to challenge your audience. there is, as you said, a lot more of this going on than we realize.
That is so important and so well said. Rob Davis is my guest. He's the president of Christian Solidarity International USA, which is a part of the global Christian Solidarity International organization that's headed by Dr. John Eibner. And they are at work in many different legislative bodies across the globe.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Opponents of the Internal Revenue Service celebrated this week after Elon Musk disguised IRS headquarters to look like a Tesla car dealership so that Democrats would burn it to the ground. The billionaire inventor covered the main IRS building with Tesla emblems and signage. He also parked a few electric cars out front as part of his plan to lure Democrats to the location so they'd light it on fire. Within a few hours, leftists flocked to the building with Molotov cocktails, blowtorches, Samsung Galaxy Note 7s, and other incendiary devices. IRS headquarters was reduced to rubble by the end of the day. One enraged protester could be seen throwing a Molotov cocktail through a window of the IRS building and shouting, "Fascists are violent, kill them all." Elon Musk released a statement saying, "For the cost of a few Tesla signs, we've now freed the American people from the terrible burden of excessive taxation. Ironically, once the rubble of the IRS building is cleared, we will in fact build an enormous new Tesla dealership in its place. But now I have to go. I'm playing Diablo 4. Americans rejoiced over the news of the torched building. Many say they hope Musk disguises the Department of Education building as a Tesla dealership next, so Democrats will light that one up as well. The roving herd of firebombing Democrats quickly turned their anger toward a nearby Waffle House where a waitress reportedly referred to a man in a dress as Sir. The restaurant was torched in minutes in what participants called a stunning display of bravery and tolerance. Coming up next, is your toddler secretly mining Bitcoin in your basement? We give you the warning signs.
Somewhere in the bowels of the city that never sleeps
Kevin McCullough, radio host with Salem Media,
is a man also not sleeping.
Syndicated radio talk show host Kevin McCullough.
And that guy would like a word with you.
Many of you know him from his votes for Damas.
Of course that Kevin show is going to be great. The only thing that could be greater, of course, would be that Donald show. We don't have that, so we have that Kevin show.
Featuring the music of Dick Tunney and the Dream in Color Orchestra. Still to come, Dr. Kevin Roberts and Trump's first 100 days. Funny man Jarrett Lemaster will be devilish. Sketch comedy from Nick Peterson. And returning to the spotlight, Luke Bryan. Today on That Kevin Show. And now from Times Square, where dreams are made, wallets are stolen, and chaos is just what we call Tuesday. Here's
Chaos wasn't as bad as what they had at that playoff game of the NHL this week. Did you see it? They did the national anthem with harmonicas. People walked out of there with migraines. I don't know that I could blame them. 5 harmonicas, national anthem, no thank you, not for me. For Assignment Desk Weekend, I'm Kevin McCullough. In New Mexico, a former judge and his wife were arrested for allegedly harboring a member of Tren de Agua, a Venezuelan gang so notorious it makes MS-13 look like a church softball team. Authorities were tipped off when the couple's Airbnb listing began to include breakfast, Wi-Fi, and safe house for violent fugitives. The judge, once known for sentencing criminals, now apparently just hosts them. Truly a retirement plan no one saw coming. Meanwhile, Uber is threatening to ghost the entire state of Colorado if lawmakers pass a new rider safety bill. The legislation would require Uber to screen drivers, log complaints, and brace yourself for this, actually prioritize rider safety. Uber responded with the legal equivalent of you up at 2 a.m., saying they have no choice but to leave. Colorado officials are currently weighing their options, including walking everywhere or inventing teleportation. In Washington, the Navy has officially torpedoed the Biden administration's climate agenda, literally, in a move that shocked exactly no one who's ever worn a uniform. Navy brass declared they would now prioritize lethality over solar panels. Sources say the new policy is called Operation Let's Not Die. Apparently, climate change is a long-term threat, but getting blown up is a bit more of an immediate concern. A federal judge blocked a Trump-era executive order aimed at cleaning up voter rolls, prompting Democrats to celebrate and Republicans to say, "Are we still pretending dead people don't vote?" The order was one of many in a recent flurry of legal ping pong where court rulings bounced back and forth faster than CNN's primetime lineup. Trump vowed to keep fighting, stating, "They're not going to stop me unless they take my golf cart." In medical news, a woman claims ChatGPT helped save her life by suggesting a cancer diagnosis her doctors had missed. The AI, previously best known for explaining Bitcoin to boomers and writing haikus about tacos, apparently diagnosed a team of licensed professionals. Her doctor responded with, "Cool. I'm going to go Google how to become a barista." Country crooner Billy Ray Cyrus is now dating Elizabeth Hurley, which experts agree is 2025's most unexpected crossover event. Billy Ray credits their romance with making him the happiest he's been in a long time, which is code for "I no longer have to explain what achy breaky heart was about." Meanwhile, Simon Desk Weekend knows that somewhere in America, Miley is staring out a window whispering, "What is going on?" And finally, in actual global catastrophe news, a Dubai-made chocolate sold at Costco may be causing a worldwide pistachio shortage. Yes, this is how civilization ends. Not with a bang, but with a brittle crunch. Food analysts warn that if Costco adds a hazelnut version, Nutella could spontaneously just combust. Stock up now or prepare to barter in almonds. For a Simon Desk Weekend, I'm Calvin McCullough.
My job usually centers around improving the structure, technology, and safety of our vehicles. This year, however, I have been tasked with a different challenge: discouraging Democrats from smearing poop on our cars. My name's Nick Peterson, and I'm a manufacturing engineer at Tesla. Once news broke that we were the left's target of the week, my job shifted from tweaking the advanced driver assistance systems to watching YouTube videos of mentally ill people commit violent acts, so I can figure out a way to minimize them. They have the activism attention span of a goldfish, so just gotta hang on till June. The common misconception is that Elon Musk owns all of Tesla. In reality, which many people we're seeing don't live in, Elon only has 13% of the company's equity. Vanguard and BlackRock collectively own a larger share of Tesla than he does. But you don't see people burning down their own rental homes. 3 months ago, people would see my work uniform and say, "Thank you for helping save the planet." 3 months ago. Can't even walk into a Starbucks wearing this anymore. It's difficult to stay one step ahead of terrorists who flip-flop on their values day to day. Picture this. You buy a Tesla because you've been lectured by a bunch of planet humpers who screech about love and tolerance. And then the next day, Quasimodo hurls a Molotov cocktail through your window. Since cameras and the prospect of a felony isn't deterring them, I am developing an anti-keying die pack system, very similar to what banks use. I do find it odd that my engineering degree is being used to prevent Democrats from carving swastikas. I'll tell you who's getting a kick out of it, though. The guys over at Volkswagen. We're seeing this trend of people who said gas-powered vehicles are destroying the environment, now trading in their Teslas for gas-powered vehicles. I guess climate change wasn't that big a concern after all. Then again, we're talking about people who wore masks in their car by themselves. I have been given the liberty of testing out new color schemes. Figured they wouldn't damage something they worship. Heck, they might even start buying them again. If that's not enough, after they go through paint, they get one final coat of holy water. or as we like to call it, leftist repellent. One unique safety feature I'm working on is the LDS, Liberal Detection System.
Warning, liberal detected ahead.
To reduce the risk of a violent attack or protester blocking the road, we've programmed the screen to alert the driver whenever there's a registered Democrat within 100 yards.
Take alternate route?
Yes.
Calling mom.
No, we haven't perfected it yet. Here at the Cybertruck portion of the facility, we are miles ahead in regard to exterior safety, specifically bulletproofing. I probably still wouldn't drive it through Chicago or Detroit, but we are certainly on the right track to keeping our customers safe in blue cities. I propose little motion activated machine guns that pop out the doors. James Bond's gone electric. But they didn't. It was voted no. So why are they committing all this vandalism, you might be asking? Well, because the CEO of Tesla found billions of government-wasted dollars in fraud. Spending $20 million to produce Sesame Street in Iraq is oddly important to them. And, of course, because the internet told them to. You don't have to be in the government group chat to know that.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin. Now, back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's Kevin McCullough, thatkevinshow.com, That Kevin Show at all social, That Kevin Show at Gmail. If you use a dinosaur technique called email, that's how you get me at That Kevin Show. We always love to have people on this show named Kevin. There's been a few of them, and I'm glad to introduce another one, longtime friend of the movement. But I think the first time that we've had him here at That Kevin Show, Kevin Roberts, Dr. Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation. Kevin, it's good to see you.
Well, my friend, it's always so great to think about being on a show with your show's name. So thanks for having me.
Well, and I'm thinking of all of our similarities. Native Texans, follically challenged, conservative. Like we're I don't know. Are you in your 50s? I think we probably line up on a whole bunch of different things.
It's meant to be 50 on the nose.
That's it. Oh, wow. Okay, so I am the old man. Double nickels for me as of a month ago. But I'm here to tell you there's life after it, so keep going.
I will.
Don's Early Light was the book that came out late last year, and we wanted to get you on at the time, but you were very, very busy. Taking Back Washington to Save America. I can't think of an organization that was more besmirched or ideas that were more put down than this thing called Project 2025 that everybody would always talk about with hushed tones and breath and everything. The Heritage Foundation is an idea factory. You guys kick out solutions to problems, and you talk about the analysis of how problems come about, and you're actively trying to solve these problems, Kev. In response to that and the success of your book and even what you're seeing with the administration, what is your feeling about where we sit in April of 2025?
Well, for us, we know that you're not catching flack unless you're over the target. And
that's
so
true.
as the media was giving us probably $1 billion of earned media on Project 2025, almost everything they said was a distortion other than the reality that we, in fact, did call for the elimination of the Department of Education. We just told all the friends of the movement.
We're this close, by the way. We
are. I mean, that's why I'm in public policy. As you know, I'm a lifelong educator and combated the Obama administration on that. So it's glorious. All of that to say, I think the Trump-Vance administration deserves an A+ for everything that they've done, even on the tariff question, which of course kind of splits the conservative movement. I think they've landed where we would recommend they land at Heritage, which is a zealous focus on China, a zealous focus on reciprocal tariffs. But the most important thing that they've done, Kevin, is give the everyday American hope that policymakers in Washington, D.C., of all places, have their backs. That's ultimately what motivated us about Project 2025. I think this really is the dawn of the new golden age of America.
Well, And there's so much that you just said in that one statement to unpack, but I want to get to your main point, which is the psychology of the average American. What we have seen for a generation, my generation, the modern era, Nixon forward, we have seen with absolute, unrepentant, unapologetic arrogance from the office of the presidency on both sides of the aisle, as to a certain degree of being willing to ignore what the American people are going through. And what you've seen with Doge, what you've seen with the announced intentions of things like the Department of Education, of the agenda that's being put into place with Make America Healthy Again, with all kinds of tentacles that are emanating out from the administration into all of these different policy arenas. The one overriding message is that we are listening to the people that hired us and put us here. We are listening to what you told us in the election. We are doing what we said, and we, most importantly, we are doing what you asked us to do. And the idea that the electeds would be accountable to the people, Kevin Roberts, is a foreign concept, and it shouldn't be in America.
It is. And two things to respond to that, Kevin. The first is it isn't just Democrats, to your point, who've been guilty of this. I mean, you think about the swampy establishment Republicans like Mitch McConnell, just to use one example, who, almost literally just want to pat movement conservatives on their heads and say it's all going to be okay. They simply don't understand that for the better part of 2 generations, everyday Americans have been looking for a leader of this country. This goes all the way back to Reagan. He was the last one we had, who looks at public policy and the plight of Americans from the standpoint of them, as opposed to doing that from the standpoint of K Street lobbyists in Washington. That really is not at all an overstatement. And so God bless Donald Trump for revitalizing that revolution of common sense. But the second thing is, as I travel the country, and I know you're very much in touch with hardworking Americans, there really is this revitalization of hope. I mean, that's ultimately what this is about. It seems sort of ephemeral to put it that way, but that's what's driving this administration. I have the privilege, the good fortune of knowing almost all of the cabinet secretaries personally. Yeah. And I can tell you, beyond the politics, beyond the fact that we agree on the worldview that you share too, these men and women are motivated every day to do the work of the everyday American. And the more that they're squealing and gnashing of teeth in Washington, D.C., the better. In other words, to kind of come full circle in our conversation, the more flack that cabinet gets from establishment folks in Washington, the more proof there is that they are over the target on behalf of the everyday American.
So a recent example of this, as we sit here having this conversation, it happened not long ago, but CNN was in the White House when the president of El Salvador came to visit. And Caitlin Collins put forward the question to the president, do you feel bad? Something along these lines. I'm not quoting it verbatim, but do you feel bad that, you're not going to be able to bring this, quote, innocent person that got swept up in the Tren de Aragua exit plan back to the U.S. And instead of being kind of Trumpy, he turns to Pam Bondi, he turns to Stephen Miller, he turns to Marco Rubio, and with all of the expertise of every one of their offices and kind of what they are there to do in the administration, they dismantled the single network that kind of stakes the claim to being the voice of news to the entire universe. And Kevin, and they didn't do it in a brash or a conceited or a we're better than you kind of way. They did it in everyday English, saying this is a convicted gang member. He's part of MS-13. He's here illegally. And Trump kind of put the cherry on the sundae when he says to Caitlin at the end, why are you more interested in asking that question than you are of saying, thank you, Mr. President, for making America safer for the everyday person? See, it's not, this is not the same Donald Trump that was there in 2016. He is the same. He's made of the same DNA. He has the same drive and passion for America. But his confidence, his level of comfort in just being in his own skin and doing what he's been sent there to do is something that I've never seen a president exude like this.
It really is remarkable. And you think about the possibility, perhaps the likelihood, that it might have been Providence's hand that President Trump did not secure the second term in 2020.
I've said this publicly, but yes.
Yeah, and our heritage friends, whether they're congressmen and senators or people who support our effort financially, are saying the same thing. And the second thing is Trump this time around, side to side, top to bottom, has a cabinet that, of course, is very loyal to him and to the movement. They're also extraordinarily competent.
Welcome back. Very honored to have Kevin Roberts, Dr. Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation, someone who I have immense respect for. And his latest book is called Dawn's Early Light, Taking Back Washington to Save America. And that is exactly what we are in the midst of watching. Kevin, let's talk about beyond kind of the upper headlines of what we're getting. Let's talk about a little bit of how effective the administration is getting at in terms of getting into the gears of the corruption and the problems that exist and what they're doing internally. What are you seeing? It's one thing to have the flashy headline and Caitlin Collins put in place, but there's actual substance going on in major departments, at least the executive, that are going to have some significant outcomes. What are you seeing that you like and would like to see better?
Well, I think the best metaphor, Kevin, is that the entire administration has jumped in under the hood, but they are in the inner wells of the engine. I mean, these people are not just playing around on the periphery. It isn't merely about DOGE. And of course, what's going on with DOGE is fantastic. It's that every single one of the cabinet secretaries, their deputies, the people that they're hiring in levels 3, 4, and 5 are people who are zealously focused on not missing this opportunity. And if you're focused on not missing the opportunity, as important as communication and media are in telling the story to the American people, you've got to spend 95% of your time actually fixing the engine and they're repairing parts and so on. And so across the board, you think about the zeal with which Secretary Linda McMahon at Education is dismantling the department. You think about what's going on relatively quietly, but very importantly in the Department of Energy, the Department of Interior. I could go on and on. Ultimately, the real cornerstone of all of this is the work that Russ Vought, our great collaborator on our transition project, is doing at the Office of Management and Budget. And I won't go into detail there because it seems sort of esoteric, but it's vital because what it's doing is what Russ's work is doing is connecting the work of DOGE, the great dismantling of all of the frankly stupid spending that we've done, with potential legislative action, because we're going to miss the moment if we don't have Congress codify a lot of this. I think we would like to see, what I'm hearing from grassroots friends, even though we're all very supportive of the Attorney General and the FBI director, a little more momentum there about correcting some of the double standard of the Biden administration. We at Heritage are 100% convinced that will come, but I think it's really important that the Attorney General and the FBI director continue to communicate with the American people who are expecting this double standard to be corrected, why they're going about this perhaps more methodically than we were anticipating. I think it's all fine, but that would be the one area which is not a problem as much as it is an opportunity to close a little bit of a communication gap with the grassroots.
I want to ask maybe the most difficult question to answer for you, but I want everyone that's watching and listening to think about what the answer should be. The press are reacting a certain way to this administration. You and I have certain reactions to the administration based on what they've done to date and what they intend to do. And I think even people that doubted him really have no cloud left in their mind as to his intensity and the kind of importance he's putting on getting the job done. How did we become a country, though, that began to accept anything less than this from previous administrations? And what really brought this home for me was the day that he was in the Rose Garden and he holds up that sign of every country on the planet and what they have been tariffing us. And the reason that's important, Kevin, is because everybody that was tearing his plan down on tariffs was saying it's going to ruin our economy. We're the ones that are going to be the victims. It's going to raise our inflation. It's going to hurt us. His actions were going to hurt us. Yet I had not heard from Biden, Obama, W, Clinton, HW, one word about what these other countries were already putting on us, we the American people. And it seems to me that half of the battle of getting the government that you want is to expect that it is going to be what it is supposed to be from the outset. So how did we get into the situation where we were more or less asleep at the wheel and letting countries all over the world just take advantage of us?
Well, there are a lot of factors in that. And the answer to me, or for me, is the so-called managerial revolution. I talk about this in the book at length, that over a couple of generations, we have deferred, whether congressional power or executive power or just common sense as individuals, to these self-appointed managers, these technocrats, these experts. The person who personifies this, so now you know that this is a bad thing, is Anthony Fauci.
That's well said. The book is Dawn's Early Light. Kevin Roberts is the author, Taking Back Washington to Save America. And his time is very valuable, so I'm very grateful that he shared some of it with us.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin. Here he is from New York. That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to That Kevin Show, Times Square. Glad to have you with us. ThatKevinShow.com, That Kevin Show, all social media, ThatKevinShow@gmail.com if you still use email. That's now old-fashioned. It used to be cutting edge. I don't know when that happened. Anyway, I am so excited to have my next guest, partly because he may actually do a serious interview. You might actually not have sarcasm or undercurrent to whatever he's saying being played in the background, but it will be hard to appreciate it for all that it's worth, because Jarrett Lemaster is one of those voices and faces that you've seen regularly doing great comedy bits with the Babylon Bee, and we even feature some of them here at That Kevin Show. Jarrett, welcome. It's so good to see you.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I have so many questions, but I think I want to try to take the place of my viewers and ask the ones that they would want to have answers to. And we so appreciate your efforts and the whole team. What is the process like? Here in New York, we know about Saturday Night Live. We know how they lock themselves in and they go through a readers roundtable and they're submitting sketches and people are getting axed and new ones are being rotated in, and then they have guest stars that come on. You guys aren't quite that level of operation, but is there anything similar to it?
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a writer's room, so we have that. So we get together. Usually somebody will submit a script. Traditionally, up until about, recently, we decided to kind of open it up and start having the whole team write. But traditionally, Kyle, there's another guy that would prefer to remain anonymous. And then a couple of other of us will write on occasion. And then we submit those scripts. We get together. We have a writer's room where we punch up the scripts or we just reject them in general. Just because they're terrible. So, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of bad scripts too. So, it's kind of a trial and error process. And, but yeah, you've got Kyle Mann writing the lion's share probably of what we do. Yeah, man. And usually we take the concept from something like a headline that did really well.
Well, that's how the Bee kind of made its bones, right? So it was doing spoof headlines, kind of like The Onion, but with a more direct slant on it. And then you guys started the comedy troupe like sometime after the Bee had been going for a while. And I have an interesting perspective on all of this because my morning man here at AM 970 The Answer in New York is Joe Piscopo. So I've seen behind the scenes a little bit with, what they go through, and the rejection is fierce. Like it's like you pour your heart and soul into a sketch and then it just gets axed before they even get through the first page. And you're like, we why did I even try?
We joke. It's probably like 90% of the pitches don't make it. Like they get rejected. And so very few make it.
You got to have a thick skin.
You do, and the comedy is an interesting world. You would think it's just manned by a bunch of extroverted, theater kids, but it isn't. It's actually a lot of introverted, very thoughtful, deep thinkers. I'm like the most extroverted person on the staff, so it's like me, and then there's another guy, but the rest of them are just like really introverted people, and it's highly competitive, and at least it was for a long. We're kind of evening out, I think, at this point, but. Yeah, it's also a Christian environment, so I think we're more gracious than we would be otherwise. But so it's not like totally SNL where people are snorting.
I don't know that that's ever really accounted for much, because I've been around the Christian music industry and Christian publishing industry, and it seems to me it's as equally cutthroat in those areas as it is in the secular mainstream.
It definitely can be. But I think these guys are real Christians. Yeah. And they're gracious. They're cool. Seth's really cool. And
you pick a lot of headline types of events to write things about. For instance, I think it was Kyle did the Signal group chat sketch from last week, and he was somehow invited and was revealing all of the secret messages that the group chat had revealed. But you're also not completely partisan, because you've poked fun at both sides when it's called for it.
Oh, 100. Yeah. Usually, and this is the way comedy works in general, when it works well, is you point the cannons at the people in power, so it's not something where you just make fun of the left. I mean, although right now, most of
they're giving us more material.
Well, the incongruent, observational humor is about kind of seeing and being able to point out really well the incongruities happening in culture and the hypocrisies and things. And so a lot of that stuff's happening on the left. Obviously, we have stuff on the right, too, where it's like, whatever, greed, or, there's people doing dumb stuff over there, or Donald Trump's ego. We would make fun of his ego for a long time, and obviously I think he's humbled over the last.
I loved his sketch of you guys having him read verses. That was.
I know. I like that one too. That was really.
And
funny.
I'm a big Trump supporter, so if I can like it and laugh at it, and by the way, he's I write a column. He's liked several of them, and he sent them back to me signed and said thank you for your kind words. I think that he has a better sense of humor than people realize.
100. I think he's great. I think he's very funny. I think he's hilarious. Honestly, every time he speaks, I'm laughing my head off. So I think he's a funny guy, and he has. We used to interact with him. I think at one point we made a joke that he didn't like or something a while ago, and he called us irrelevant, or so he was like the Babylon Bee. Totally irrelevant, it was like.
But that kind of made your week, didn't it?
It was hilarious. We were just laughing about it. It was so funny.
I want to talk about the right to free speech, because the Bee has been in the midst of that battle. You got knocked off Twitter at one point. I did too. You guys got your account back. I think having Elon in your back pocket helps. It hasn't helped me as of yet, but we're working on it. But how important do you think our society thinks that free speech is? Because I will be honest, I think that the culture sometimes goes, I'm not sure that I want free speech anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know that's definitely depends on where you land on the political spectrum and how valuable you think the Constitution is. Obviously, I think that's, and that really depends on how educated you are in the Constitution and that kind of stuff. So a lot of these,
fair enough.
These poor people were, never educated in any of that stuff. And so they're growing up, they're like, well, it hurts people's feelings. Let's stop saying it. And so, people need an education again. I don't think it's entirely just, going that road. I think the extremists on the left are like that, but most people are kind of like, we should be able to say what we need to say. And thank God for that. I mean, we're not turning out like England right now. Where people are going to jail for praying outside of an abortion clinic or something like that, So I'm just grateful that we still have it, we still have those protections. I think this last election probably made it so that we're going to have them for quite a bit longer. But but I do think that's the question on the
freedom
ballot.
is a cherished virtue, and if you don't seek to protect it, you will lose it.
Ready or not, we'll be right back. That Kevin.